Jack Brott. I lived all my life in Coaldale, Alberta, Canada. I've been in the agriculture industry all my life, mainly purebred hogs and into some sheep.
My name is Odelia Carr. My occupation is a manager within McDonald's. My background is Canadian with a little bit of Indigenous.
My name is Thomas Russell. By my job, I work for the Rocky View School Board, part-time basis.
Ako po si kapatid na Roosevelt Roter po. Ako'y nagtatrabaho bilang isang healthcare aide po.
My name is Thomas Ring. I'm employed as an accountant or a financial controller. I grew up in Calgary here, actually. I'm a native Calgarian. I've lived here most of my life.
So I grew up in a Catholic school, and that really resonated with me at a young age, but probably around when I was 14 or 15, I kind of backed away from that completely since most of my family is not religious at all.
Well, I was born in a Protestant family, a United Church of Canada. And of course, as a young person, my parents made sure I attended church, and we called it Sunday school.
Throughout my life, I was quite religious. I always wanted to attend worship and masses and stuff. I went to a Catholic church, or a Catholic school. It was right across from the church. So sometimes during at lunchtime at noon, they would have mass, and I would go over and be attend, or otherwise I'd be an altar boy. So even in my younger years, I was considering becoming a priest. And when I was in my 40s, I kind of went away from the Catholic Church. I didn't attend Mass anymore.
Catholic kami, pero hindi ko talagang matanggap yung nag-cross. Pumupunta lang ako, pero ayaw ko yung aral nila talaga. Pero yun, hindi talaga ako relihiyosang tao.
Many years up to about age 17, I was in a Lutheran church, and I enjoyed it at that time. But of course, as you got older, you started having questions in your own mind. There's something wrong here. It doesn't seem right. And then I dropped out of the church for quite a few years.
Throughout my life, I had questions about the Catholic Church and the faith. Different things kind of bothered me with the saints, and you have the different idols and pictures in the churches, and every time a pope comes up, it seemed like the rules changed a little bit, and I always didn't understand why things had to change or why things were the way they were. I had questions.
Bata pa ako, parang yung pagkukross ay hindi nababasa ko minsan sa Biblia noong bata ako. Parang wala sa Biblia rin. Kaya hindi ko yun matanggap. Tapos talagang hinanap ko ang totoong relihiyon.
When I heard about the Church of Christ, it kind of hit me that it was so different in something I wasn't expecting, but then to some extent, I wasn't for it because I was very angry at that time in my life, and I didn't think I needed God, or I didn't feel like He was there at all to begin with. So I kind of pushed it away, and I was very hesitant to even look into it. I didn't read into it. I just knew about it, and it was there in my mind.
I was invited actually to a worship service when we were downtown. I enjoyed it quite well. I liked the question and answer portions of the worship service.
I did have some coworkers that were within the Church of Christ. And one of the things that really stood out to me was they wouldn't hang out on certain days, and they would be going to church 2 times a week.
I needed to worship him or go to mass or do something. So I started going back to the Catholic Church, but I knew it wasn't the right faith for me. Things didn't feel right. So I was looking around, and I met someone. They mentioned they were going to the Church of Christ, and we talked a little bit. But what kind of made me wonder or really think about the Church of Christ is that they didn't go to church, attend worship services because they had to. They always wanted to, and I thought that's something that I can appreciate, that you want to go and praise and honor God. They said, well, if you're interested, why don't you attend some worship services and just by yourself and see what you think. So I did that.
Sa tinirhan ko pong boarding house ay puro mga kapatid ang nakatira doon. Tapos may kapatid doon, inanyayahan niya ako, sabi niya, wala kang pupuntahan. Kung gusto mo, sasama ka sa akin, sasamba tayo.
First was introduced to the church was 1978 in Winnipeg, Manitoba. But then I had nothing against the building or anything. It was nice and the services were nice, but it just didn't seem to be a fit for me at that point in time.
Well, because it took me such a long time to accept the invitation and go to the church, some of the things that did stay in my mind stayed there for a long time, and then it got to the point where I was just very curious, so I just ended up attending by myself.
And the first time I went there, I was kind of sat in the back, and I listened and watched, and everything that the minister said, they made sense. The lessons, they made me think about things. And then after a couple of weeks, the person I was talking to, they said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, yeah, no, it makes sense, it's good. They said, well, why don't you ask to listen to the doctrines of the church? I said, okay, I can do that. It doesn't hurt to listen. And
the solemnity of the worship service, and also the males being separated from the females. The first impression, I liked that because there's a lot of peace to be said at that time.
Well, I certainly realized it was very, very orderly, and the choir was exceptional. And even back in those days in Juneau, the little chapel in Juneau in Winnipeg, Manitoba, they had a wonderful choir there.
So when I went to the church, I remember going through the lesson and watching everyone because I didn't understand exactly what's going on, so I just was watching around, looking at what was happening, and it was really different than how I was raised in the Catholic Church, just for the fact that a lot of our prayers in Catholic churches are repeated over and over again. You don't really have your own personal prayers in a sense. They would tell you to pray for your family and whatnot, but it wasn't like they encouraged you to change or put your own thoughts directly into your prayer to get your prayers answered. So that really stood out to me.
I was thinking about going to different churches, and I had a few different churches coming to visit me, asking me to attend, and I wasn't really interested in the religion was. In the Iglesia and Cristo, it's simple teachings. It comes from the Bible. They're not telling you what to do. It's telling you what the Bible is telling you as a guide.
So I went to a few worship services, and then I had stopped for a few months. It just lingered in my mind, the worship services I did go to, and then after a few months I continued to go, and it just got to the point where I thought I would go to Bible studies.
Ang paniniwala ko po noon, Ang alam ko, kung papasok ka sa iba't ibang relihiyon, ay maliligtas ka na. Nung napasok ko ang Iglesia ni Cristo, ay ibang-iba sa lahat na mayroon palang totoong relihiyon na kung papasok ka ay maliligtas ka. Yun ang pagkakaiba ng lahat na relihiyon. Sa loob ng Iglesia ni Cristo lamang ang kaligtasan.
Well, it's really night and day. I mean, the Protestant religion, I mean, they believe in the Trinity. I mean, really die-hard Trinitarians. And then when, you know, I learned the truth about Jesus and the true God, the Father in heaven, I mean, it is a big difference, right? So that was the kind of like a turning point there. Then I began my Bible studies.
The minister come down from Calgary. It was the winter, and he would come down, and sometimes I would think, boy, this is nice. He comes down from Calgary. It's a couple-hour drive, and we went through the doctrines, and any questions I had, you know, he wouldn't just, you know, say, well, this is the way it is. He'd open up the Bible, of course, and he would read me the verses.
I found that the Lutheran Church, a lot of times, what they taught was contradictory to each other. The lessons were more formatted by the minister, or the pastors, what we called them at that time. And they were the ones that basically put the lessons together. What I found within the Church of Christ were the lessons were being conformed, so that the same lesson that we were taught here is the same as which was taught in Edmonton, Winnipeg, Toronto, etc. around the world. Although it may be in different languages, it's still the same basic lesson.
And that's one of the things in the Church of Christ that means a lot. Everything comes from the Bible. It's the teachings that God our Father gave us that we're supposed to follow. And whenever the minister talks to us, it's a guide to help us to stay on the right path for our salvation. It's always trying to make ourselves better and to remind us that we have to continually renew our lives and always work at doing better and doing what is right. The turning point why I joined the Church of Christ is because I finally found the one true religion. I found a religion that truly glorifies, worships God our Father, who follows the Bible, doesn't add or subtract any words from the Bible.
Ang turning point po na umanib po ako sa Iglesia ni Cristo ay bago po ang aking buhay na noon ay hindi ako palasamba. So ngayon ay lagi pong yung aking gagawin ay tinatanong ko pa muna sa Ama kung pwede ba ito o hindi. Noon po ay ginagawa ko na lang na walang paalam sa Ama po.
I would say that the turning point in me joining the church was I had listened to primarily all of the lessons at that point, and it was making sense to me. I knew that there's something in my heart that was saying that this seems to be the true religion, and I wanted to continue on and to be involved more with the Church of Christ.
The turning point why I joined the church was to give me more guidance in my life, because I didn't always feel that growing up. I came from a family that separated and moved apart, and they didn't always stay together. So having that foundation in my life was really important.
The turning point why I joined the Church of Christ, when I had my first lesson, I really never looked back. I can truthfully say that. When I heard the teachings, I mean, I realized, you know, how wrong I'd been with my previous religions, and in the Church of Christ, you really have to accept the last messenger. And in the book of Revelations, I saw an angel ascending from the east, and so many of the prophecies that are fulfilled, you know, in the book. And the timing, 1914, the reestablishment of the True Church of Christ, I mean, simultaneously with the outbreak of World War I.
Some family members and friends, they don't understand, you know, why I've chosen the Church of Christ. I've invited them many times to listen to Bible studies.
Before joining the church, I didn't really feel much purpose in my life, and I felt that it was really hard to keep going day by day, feeling like nothing changes in your life. And being able to have that place to turn to relieve some of those burdens, to remove some of those stresses, was one of the big things, or the big reasons I joined the church. Was I felt like I could do those things in church. I could talk to God and release and remove anything that was on my mind, and know that I was being heard and that I was being seen.
In the worship service, if you have these problems, you're always reminded that you can always count on God. He'll never leave us. He's always with us. He'll always give you the blessings that you need. We may have to go through some trials, and we have problems in our life, but He'll always be there for us.
My baptism was September 7th, 2019, and I was extremely happy. The minister had contacted me to go get baptized in the Philippines, and I was just shocked. When I got there were just so many ministers, there were so many brethren, and everyone was very welcoming and open. And it was just so amazing to meet so many different people of different walks in life. And it just opened my eyes how wide and vast all of us are, but we're still within one body.
My baptism was in June of 1995. Again, our congregation was quite small, so I was happy to add to the numbers of the church in our locale within the church at that time. And I felt elated that I was starting a new life within the church, that I was being forgiven for my sins, and that I was able to be worthy, you could say, belonging to the church.
Ako'y nabautismuhan po sa Hong Kong po noong March 2004 po. Noong natapos na po ang aking bautismo po, ay nag-iba po yung aking buhay po, na ako'y anak ng Diyos at gagawin ko lahat-lahat ng utos sa loob ng Iglesia ni Cristo.
My birthday, April 12, 1985. I was baptized and never looked back. Almost 37 years.
Baptism was May of 2016. Yes. Throughout my journey, it's been like I truly was guided by God in all I did. It took a long time, but once I started to, became a member of the Church of Christ, it's more fulfilling. Life is much more fulfilling, much, a happier person because of being a member of the Church of Christ.
Ang tingin ko po, ang nagbago sa aking buhay ay kami ay palasamba na hindi noon. Lagi po kaming nakaugnay lagi sa Ama at sa pamamahala.
My former ways of life, I left behind a long time ago. It hasn't been easy. Nothing comes easy for anybody. But at least I have a God that takes good care of me, protects me, shields me from all of these difficulties and problems. And even when I'm sick, I'm healed. So I can't ask for more.
My outlook has changed since joining the church. I did feel like I was a very angry person at one point in my life because so many burdens and hardships in my life, I didn't understand why I was going through them, and I was just very upset about it, and I didn't know how to deal with them in a correct way. I can also go to church to relieve some of those burdens, and sometimes I feel like some of the lessons directly impact me, especially when I go on a day where I feel like I'm having a hard day, and then the lesson pretty much answers all the questions I have.
I thank the Lord God that I've been given these duties and that I have them and that I can help in my capacity as the head deacon to help the church to develop and to grow.
And I found that really, it's what I was looking for, something that where you're there to worship God, to do it, and to learn about how to carry on with your life. And I found many times, if you ever have a problem and you attend the worship service and you somehow, that sermon, all of a sudden you say, what's going on? I mean, this is what my problem is. This is the answer I need. This is the guidance I'm looking for.
Worship service has helped me to still have hope, helps me to get through those times where I feel like things aren't going very well, especially during the pandemic. It's really hard, especially seeing your family members go through things and you can't do anything about it, and all you can do is pray.
Being a member of the Church of Christ, one of the things that they always learn is that if you have problems, to pray to God our Father for guidance and help. When I was younger, I had heart surgery to do some repairs in my heart, and I knew I had to have further surgery on my valve in order to fix it. And it came time in 2020 for them to start scheduling the surgery.
My life, it did get tough at times, but I don't know, I never felt alone. I always knew that the Almighty Father was watching over me, and the Lord Himself was in my heart and was protecting my home and family. And I was so thankful to the church too that we could go online, although I'm not a big computer guy because of my age and that, but I certainly appreciated the fact that we never missed a worship service.
Dumating po na pandemya ay dahil na rin po natuto na po ako lahat-lahat sa mga aral sa loob ng Iglesia. Sa dami ng nawalan po ng trabaho, ako'y umaasa lagi po sa Ama. At sa awa ng Diyos po, kahit gaano kahirap ay lalo po kaming pinagtibay ng Ama sa pandemyang ito, at sa mga lahat ng aming pangangailangan, lalo po niyang binuhos po sa amin.
So they were talking about going back in and replacing my valve with artificial or a different valve. So my wife and I, we did our devotional prayers, and with COVID, they got postponed, and their devotional prayers, we continued every evening, same time, praying for things to go well, that the surgery would go, be successful.
Gave me some grounding within my life, within our family life.
And of course, before the surgery, they check you all out. They want to make sure if they're going to operate, that they fix everything while they're there. So they did scans of my heart, and they came back that my heart was in very good shape. They had no other surgeries to do, and that my valve, they wouldn't have to replace it, but they could actually fix it.
To anyone who is unsure of joining the Church of Christ is to continue on, to investigate further about the doctrines within our church. Continue to keep an open mind. Try to understand the teachings.
At least try a Bible study. And if you're going through a really hard time in life, that you'll find something in the lesson to help you.
If someone's deciding whether or not they should attend evangelical missions or Bible studies, you'll never be pressured to do anything or become part of the church. It's always your choice. You're more than welcome to come, listen to Bible studies, attend worship service. The ministers are always available to answer your questions. Find out more about the Church of Christ. It is the one true church.